Welcome to ADHD Whiskey. If you're new here, my name is Matt. Today, we're talking about these two bottles, the newest offerings from Barrel King. And thanks to Barrel King, we're going to talk about how one of these batches is going to be responsible for me getting a whole new mouth set of teeth in my face. If you're not subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button. And if you're interested in Barrel King and becoming a gold member, click on my link in the description below. As always, when talking about Barrel King products, it's important for me to let you know that I am employed by Barrel King. I am their chief tasting officer and newly appointed master blender. So although I will always talk about the products coming out of Barrel King with an open mind and with the utmost honesty, it is important for me to let you know that I am affiliated with Barrel King, and what helps Barrel King in the long run helps me. With that being said, Barrel King is amazing. And by Barrel King, I specifically mean Jared and Rachel, the owners of Barrel King. They literally are the best. If you recall, at the beginning of the month, I posted a video called My Future on YouTube or something like that, where I talked about my dental health concerns and how they were gonna have to rip all the teeth out of my head. If you haven't watched that video, I will link it up here. I'll put it up there. A lot of you commented on that video that I needed to get second and third opinions, which I have done. I've talked to other dentists, I've talked to other people in the industry, and it looks like full top and bottom implants is the best way to go with my situation. In that video, I said I was trying to come up with ways to raise money to help cover, at least a percentage of the surgery, so that maybe I could get half of it done now and then half of it done later whenever I could afford it. But two things happened. First of all, Mr. Bill Kavanaugh set up a GoFundMe, which has raised almost $10,000, which literally blows my mind. Anybody and everybody who donated to that GoFundMe, thank you so much. It really means the world to me from the bottom of my heart. Thank you. And then Jared and Rachel from Barrel King reached out to Dan and Sean of the Bourbon Junkies and offered up 200 of these batch 77 bottles to the Bourbon Junkies Patreon, with all proceeds of that sale going directly to me and funding my new teeth. This was supposed to be a tasting video, but literally it's turning into just a mess because I'm trying not to cry. Jared and Rachel literally donated $40,000 to tell me to get my teeth fixed. So thanks to Jared and Rachel, the 200 people who bought a version of this bottle, and the many of you who donated to that GoFundMe, when I am done shooting and editing this video, I'm going to call the dental place and talk about scheduling my surgery. So thank you so much. With that being said, let's get to the two offerings from Barrel King for February. The first bottle is Barrel King Knighted. It's batch number 77. This will be available to their gold members for the month of February, along with batch number 78, which is their straight rye whiskey. The bottles of batch 77 that were sold for my teeth are labeled batch 77 MP. The labels that are just marked batch number 77 are from the same blend as 77 MP. They were just bottled a few days later. And like I said, will be available to Barrel King gold members in the month of February. This is the largest batch that's ever come out of Barrel King and was blended by Jared himself, who's a friggin' genius. It is Indiana bourbon that's been finished in Rare X bourbon barrels. Typically the age of the bourbon in the bottle ranges from 6 to 8 years old. This is 118 proof, 59% alcohol by volume. Barrel King, heavy is the head that wears the crown. A quote by William Shakespeare, who stole it from Jared of Barrel King. The color on this batch 77 bourbon is ridiculous. It is ridiculously dark. Again, thank you Dan and Sean for making this bottle available to your Patreon community and literally changing my life. You guys are the best. I always go into detail about how much I love Dan. He's literally one of the best people I've ever met. And I don't say it enough, but I love Sean too. He's not that bad. Let's go in for a nose. Batch 77, Barrel King Knighted. Wow. That smells like a cherry marshmallow s'more. Every once in a while, I smell a bourbon that reminds me of like a very old oak tree that also grew cherries. I've went down this road before, but I'm not against revisiting a road. And down that road, there are many, many gigantic oak trees that have cherry syrup running through their veins. And that is what this smells like. If those veins also got an infusion of 118 proof Indiana straight bourbon whiskey. The more I nose this batch 77, the more it's like adapting and changing and like altering. And this is, wow. It's like a transformer drank the TGRI ooze from the Ninja Turtles. It's truly transforming and changing into something special. It's like if Jay Cutler tried on every lotion at Bed Bath & Beyond. Strong and pleasing. Or if Phil Heath walked through a touchless car wash and its spot-free rinse was filled with love spell. Sweet, aromatic, and just glorious. Let's go in for a taste of batch 77 down the hatch. Wow. That is very, 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 very good. That first sip reminds me of a Buffalo Trace product with like an oaky, charry twist to it. So many candied sweet cherry notes are coming out of there. It's insane. Extra oily, extra full flavored, extra long finish. Again, I had nothing to do with this blend. This is all Jared. This is all Jared all day long. And after the first sip, I am thoroughly impressed. Good grief. Second sip. There is so much going on here. This is a very layered bourbon. It's like all the best bourbon flavors, all the best notes combined into one, but intermingled perfectly. If I were Jared and I had the ability to turn this whiskey into a painting that truly like painted the perfect picture of what this particular pour pleasantly does to the palate, then I would place it on the wall behind a thick glass frame and stare at it. Because it's a blending, I think it's a blending, geez, is blending a masterpiece too far? If this were mine, if this were my blend, I would be ecstatic. Jared doesn't get ecstatic. He may quietly say that he thinks it's the best thing he's ever done, but he doesn't shout it from a rooftop. He doesn't get on the bullhorn and yell in people's faces about it. He just quietly does amazing things. And batch 77, that's the best thing I've had from Barrel King. Third sip, and it's still changing. One seemed to be a little bit more rye spice on that one, a little bit spicier. We're going from like extremely sweet cherry to cherry cola to a bit spicy cherry. Every sip I've had of it has been different and in the most enjoyable way. If you are a gold member of Barrel King, batch 77 bourbon is 100% amazing and you will love it. You will love it. Now let's get into batch number 78, which is a straight rye whiskey, 115 proof. Something tells me that I probably should have started with this considering the overwhelming awesomeness of batch 77 knighted bourbon, but I can't go back in time and taste this first, so we'll see how it stands up after the bourbon. Batch 78 straight rye. This rye is a bit delicate. Part of it reminds me of a cream soda, while the other part of it reminds me of a ginger ale. And I know those two are kind of like opposites on the taste spectrum, but ask any magnet, opposites do attract. Almost a bit Dr. Pepper-like. It also smells a bit like a charcuterie board. When you have the crackers next to the fruits on the charcuterie board, I'm kind of getting like a charcuterie board note off of here, including the board itself. It's like the cheeses with the fruits in it that you're like, what in the heck is that? I've never seen such a thing. And then they're like smeared on a cracker and you're like, wow, that makes me a happy mother quacker. No, like a raspberry cream cheese that you put on a cracker. Yeah. A beautiful and unique nose for a rye whiskey that is vastly different than the knighted bourbon, but at the same time, like also fantastic in its own way, its own unique way. Like a rock chip on a windshield. No two are exactly the same. Let's go in for a taste. Batch 78 rye down the hatch. Wow. Man, that makes me happy. This is a much brighter pour than the bourbon. If there were still whiskey and sparkling whiskey, this would be like on the sparkling side, it feels like a refreshing, sparkly rye whiskey that like invigorates you. It's an invigorating flavor profile. It just kind of gets you all bubbly and happy and like just kind of chatty. And you're like, oh my gosh, this whiskey tastes great. And I feel like even with my rotting mouth, I could breathe on people and they would be like, that smells fantastic, due to its fresh qualities. Second sip. There is a fruitiness to it on the mid palate. It's almost like a mixed berry jam that hits you like on the mid tongue left. It's almost an exact coordinate. And if you called it out, you'd sink my battleship. But my battleship is batch 78 rye. The front of the palate brings the refreshing, invigorating notes, and then immediately hits you in the mid palate with like this deep mixed berry, like, it's like you took a drop of food coloring, but the food coloring was mixed berry extract, and you dropped it on that part of the tongue, and it just kind of like spread out and stayed there. And then it's gonna be there for weeks because it's really hard to get out of your tongue. It's like, it's just there and delicious. In the back of the palate, some more of that rye spice and a little bit of oak kind of like lingers around. But after the traditional finish is gone, there's still that lingering mixed berry note directly placed on that coordinate of the tongue, which is weird and awesome. If you are a rye whiskey lover or you dabble in rye whiskeys and want something that's a bit different, a little bit of a twist, like a mixed berry twist on rye whiskey, batch 78 is going to be right up your alley. Batch 77 bourbon is literally a Grand Slam home run. It is Jose Canseco, Mark McGuire, Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds, and the all-natural, never caught cheating Ken Griffey Jr. all got together and swung some lumber and sent a ball into center field. And by center field, I mean into whatever ocean is furthest away, because this bad boy is a home friggin' run. Batch 77 bourbon insane, batch 78 rye, so damn good. Barrel King Gold members are in for a treat this month, and I'm gonna end this video with, once again, a major thank you to Jared and Rachel for selling 200 of these bad boys for my mouth, for everyone who donated to the GoFundMe, Dan and Sean, the Bourbon Junkies, for selling these bottles to their Patreon members, and everybody out there who's just had the nicest things to say. I love you guys so much. Thank you for watching. My name is Matt. This is ADHD Whiskey. Like I always say, keep your head in the clouds, but your mind on just having the best people in your life. And that's what I have. Love you guys so much. Goodbye.